Okay, let's get into it. I'm a planner, okay? Always have been, probably always will be at some level. But what I recently realized is that the plan never quite works, does it? You can have the best plan in the world, but nothing is ever going to go actually to plan. And that's because of the way life is. Life is unpredictable. Life comes at you fast. And what brought me to this realization is obviously a few things, but the biggest thing is what happened recently. So I've been on a cut for the past 2 months now. And the first month, honestly, it was going great. I was getting stronger, my energy was on point, I was getting leaner, everything was going to plan, exactly how I planned it. And I had planned out everything. The macros, the calories, the cardio, how many times I'm going to be working out, what sports I'm going to be doing, my sleep, absolutely everything you can think of. But then, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 even was going good. And then suddenly, week 6, I crashed. I crashed like I had never crashed before. My mood was terrible for the full week. I couldn't sleep normally. I would sleep 9 hours and still wake up very tired. I would get drained like this. Everything just went to shit, from one day to the next. So I spent some time thinking, okay, what went wrong? I had the plan and everything. And what I realized is that you have to learn to adjust. You have to be able to adjust and adapt. And you can't be afraid to adjust and adapt. Because if I didn't, I would not have even the energy to do this video today. I took a step back. That's the first key thing that I want to say is always don't be afraid to take a step back and actually look at the big picture. I took a step back and I said, okay, I can either keep forcing myself, feel like shit, and maybe finish my cut in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or I can adjust, adapt a bit, move my calories up a bit, move my carbs up a bit, sleep a bit earlier, just redo everything. Okay, kind of start from scratch, but at least now I have a good base. And I did. I adjusted, I adapted, and now I'm back to feeling amazing. I'm still on a cut, but I adjusted my calories a bit, I adjusted my macros, I adjusted my sleep, my cardio, my exercises, everything. And now I'm back to feeling good and everything's going well. I'm getting stronger, I have energy, I'm in a good mood, I can be productive, and all of that. The reason why I wanted to tell this story is because that's what brought me to the realization of it brought me to the realization that even though I've always been a planner, the plan in and of itself has never actually worked. Let me tell you another story. When I was training for my marathon 2 years ago, if you haven't heard this story before, I'll tell you real quick, but my friend decided that he was going to run a marathon. He started training 4 or 5 months prior. And then all of a sudden, he told me that he's running it. And this was a month before the marathon. I looked up on ChatGPT, how long does it take to train for a marathon? ChatGPT told me 12 to 16 weeks. So that's 3 to 4 months. I had a month. And I remember this. I was in the car. It was me, my brother, and 2 of our friends. And I turned to my brother and I said, oh well, I guess I'm running a marathon in a month. Keep in mind, I am not a runner. At least I wasn't before this. The maximum I had done was maybe a couple 10Ks, but not consistently at all. So it was quite a change. But I planned it out, I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I planned it out. Okay, this is week 1, I'm going to do this training, week 2, week 3, week 4. But what happened is I actually got sick on week 3. And for around 5 to 6 days, I didn't and I couldn't run because I was genuinely sick. I had fevers and shit. But when that fever ended, I just went back to the plan. I adjusted a few things. I added in 1 more run here, 1 rest day here. I upped my carbs and whatever it is, but I adjusted, I adapted to what happened. And then eventually when the month was over, I finished with a marathon. I ran the marathon in just over 5 hours. I think it was 5 hours and 2 minutes. I know, not a great time. I don't care. All I wanted was to finish it. But the reason why I told you these 2 stories is because nothing really ever goes to plan in life. You can plan it down to the T in every detail, and that's typically what I do. But one thing that I realized is that life comes at you fast and it's unpredictable. But you have to be able to adapt and adjust your plan as you go. If not, you will get left behind. And you need to understand that you can't be afraid. A lot of people, what they have is once they have the plan and then something goes off, they're like, oh no, but the plan was this, I have to go back to it, I have to stick to it. No, don't be afraid to change your plan, to adjust your plan, to adapt, as long as the goal stays intact. Sometimes even you're going to realize, but all of a sudden even the goal is going to change. Maybe when you first started, your goal was a marathon, but now for XYZ reason, you have to adjust that goal and you have to settle sometimes. That's life, right? Because what if, you have to be grateful for what you even have. What if you broke your leg during marathon training? Now what? Are you just going to sit there and sulk? No, right? You get over it, you move on, and once you're healthy again, you get back on track. That's it. You have to understand that learning to adapt and adjust is basic human evolution. It is the reason why we're here today. If us as humans, we didn't learn to adapt, we would be extinct, just like the dinosaurs and all the other species that are extinct are. The reason why we still live, even the animals that still live, everything that still exists, it is because they adapted to the new age. As you go, you adapt. Even now, think about it, with AI, whoever isn't getting adapted to AI, they're getting left behind. That's why they're losing jobs. That's why they can't find jobs. That's why, even a lot of you've probably heard a lot of talk that universities are bullshit, and I'm behind it. In another video, maybe I'll go into detail about that. But yeah, I do think that in most cases, university is bullshit. And I'm saying that with, I have a bachelor's in finance, okay? But even with AI, it's a perfect example that you can't be afraid of change. You can't be afraid of evolution. You can't be afraid to adapt and adjust when needed. Adapting and adjusting at the right time is exactly what makes the difference between above average and elite. It's those tiny little tweaks that you make. For me, for example, going back to my cut, at first I was a little above average when, how I was treating my cut and everything. Yeah, I had my sleep dialed in. That's what a lot of people miss when they're on a cut or a diet. My sleep was on point, my cardio, my training, my macros, not really. My calories were on point. But one thing that I realized is that my macros and my micros weren't actually the best. Sure, I was looking good. I was shredding fat like crazy. But after week 4, week 5, I crashed. And I needed a new plan. I needed to adjust my plan, actually. Not a new one, just an adjusted one. Another thing that a lot of people miss out on is that actually adjusting and adapting a plan takes balls. Because once you've actually written out that entire plan, it takes balls to actually adjust it. Because yeah, it can go right, but it can also go wrong, right? But this is where you need to understand that through mistakes come lessons, through experience comes knowledge, and through risks come opportunities. The reason why I know so much about fitness, for example, is because I have made a shit ton of mistakes along the way. And I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't work. And I've seen what works for me. There was a lot of things that worked for my friends, but they didn't work for me, and vice versa. A lot of things worked for me, but it didn't work for them, whether that's bulking, cutting, maintaining, whatever it is. Even the smallest things like the exercises, the number of sets, the number of reps, the way I train, everything. So you need to make some mistakes for yourself so you can actually find out who you are and what works for you and what doesn't. The main reason why I'm seeing progress now is because one thing that I've never done is I've never been afraid to make mistakes. As you grow up, you're going to realize, brother, but there are some mistakes that you just need to make. No matter how many people tell you that this is a mistake, don't do it. You need to make for yourself to actually know, to actually learn. You've probably heard the quote that, normal people learn from their own mistakes, smart people learn from the mistakes of others. And that's true. I absolutely stand behind it. But that being said, it doesn't apply 100% of the time. There are some things that you just need to do for yourself to then say, okay, this didn't work, but at least now you have a clear conscience and you can say, at least I actually tried. I tried it out and I saw for myself that it didn't work. Because if not, you're just going to sit there with the what ifs and should I have, with the what ifs and could I have and should I have. But when you make the mistake for yourself, or, sometimes you're going to realize that it's not actually a mistake. When people first told me that, working out 6 days a week plus doing MMA 3 to 4 times a week and running and all this isn't good for you, if I had listened to them, I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't be able to live the life I do now. I wouldn't look like I do now. I wouldn't be as strong as I am now. And all of this to say, yes, today this was a quick one. I just wanted to get the message across. But all of this to say, don't be afraid to adjust and adapt, because the goal isn't the body. And you will realize this. The goal isn't the body or the money or the followers or the subscribers or the degree or the job or whatever it is. That's not the goal. That's what you think the goal is. But the real goal is the man you become, or the woman, but the man you become that actually achieves those things. Why do you think that? You've probably heard but what is it? I think over 50%, if not more, of people who win the lottery end up going broke within 5 years again. That's because they didn't actually earn it. They don't. Yeah, you got $1 million, but you didn't actually earn the $1 million. You just got it. You just got lucky, right? And when you just get lucky, and you don't actually know all the lessons that come with building the $1 million, right? With actually earning it, with building the system that gets that $1 million. If you don't know all those lessons, if you don't have that knowledge, then you're gonna lose it just as fast as you got it. Which is why, why am I against? Not against, but why am I against steroids? It's because it's a shortcut. But the person who spent 10 years building that body, and the person who spent it who got that body in 1 year, he took the easy way out. But that guy who did it in 10 years has a lot more knowledge and a lot more discipline. He has made a lot more mistakes, and he has learned a lot more lessons. Same things applies to money. The person who has actually built the business that earns $1 million and the one that just won the lottery, that one has learned all the skills that come with it. He's made 1,000 mistakes. He's failed many times. He's built up that resilience, that grit, that work ethic, that discipline, and X, Y, and Z. A ton of other factors, right? So don't be afraid to adjust and adapt as you go, because if you don't, you will get left behind. That's all I had for you today. Like I said, this was a quick one. I just wanted to get the message across. Learn to adjust and adapt as you go through life. Yes, it's good to have a plan, but life is unpredictable. It's going to come at you fast, so you have to be able to adapt fast. All I had for you today. Leave a comment, subscribe if you liked the video. I'll see you on the next one. Keep your chin up.